Hi everyone. Okay, so before I go into work real quick, I want to say something that I woke up in my heart with today. Actually, I didn't wake up with it. This happened in the morning. And it's about the beauty of God. How God is so beautiful and everything in him becomes alive and everything in him becomes beauty because he is beauty. Has it ever happened, maybe some of you that know and worship God, that when you come into his presence and you just worship him and you leave his presence, you leave and you feel beautiful. You're like, oh, I feel so pretty because I just spent time with Jesus. And the Bible does say that we become like what we worship. So imagínate, of course, God is beautiful. So in the beginning, when God created Adam and Eve and he created the earth, he created everything beautiful. He didn't want there to be sin. He didn't create evil. A lot of people are confused and they think God created evil. He did not. And then you say, so Sandra, why is there evil? Easy. Because the absence of God is evil. The absence of good is evil, is bad. So it's not that he created it. It's that he's a gentleman and he will not force anyone to abide or to love him or to abide in him. So when Jesus came on earth, he gave a lot of parables for us to understand because he has infinite wisdom and understanding, and ours is very limited. So he, just like when a child asks you a question and it's very complex for you to tell them and you don't think they're going to understand, sometimes you have to paint it as a fairy tale or in a very pretty way for them to see. And this is what Jesus did when he would give parables. So the closest thing that I can think of to a parable is the sun. The sun is radiant and it has light, and its light gives us light on earth. Like we have the natural light of the sun. However, if you don't want to see the sun, if you want to hide yourself from the sun, let's say you build a little house or a little room and you put down all the blinds and you close all the doors so that the light does not come in, then you're blocking the light. So it's not that the light doesn't exist. It's not that the light is not there. It's that you're not welcoming that light. And therefore, the absence of that light is darkness. What you're going to have in that room without any electricity is darkness. And that's what happens. Outside of God, there is no life. It's dead. It's darkness. It's sin. It's ugly. Another example I can think of is, if you've seen the movie The Lion King, when Simba and his father are reigning, all the animals get along together. Everything is beautiful. The trees are flourishing, the everything. But once there's a murder and once Simba leaves and his uncle, which is evil, takes over, you see how the animals now do not get along, how there's starvation, how there's hunger, how even the trees, there's no trees. Everything looks ugly. Everything has withered. Everything has died. And that's what it is. Life without God is like that. When I was backslidden, I had no motivation. I told God, Lord, it sucks to live without you. How can people live without you? I said, I don't want to live without you anymore. And I was so blind by my sin that I didn't know how to get back to God, because it's not about me, it's about him. But I felt like I was lacking air. And this morning I was telling him, Lord, you are my oxygen. You are my heartbeat. I can't breathe without you. Like I cannot live. I do not want to live without you, because you are life. When Jesus came, he said, I came to give life and life in abundance. He says, I am the bread. He said, eat and drink of me, So my father I'm going to say had, because you confess, I believe that God has healing power, and I've prayed over my dad, and I believe God is the one that heals, and he has and will continue always to heal my family. But he had this thing, I don't know the name of it, where you can't breathe good because of your pulmones or something like that. So he would lack oxygen. And that's what I would compare living without God to. Like a walking mummy. Like, I don't know, like just you're trying to grasp for air and you can. And anyone who has lived like that their whole life doesn't understand the freedom and the beauty of being able to inhale all this oxygen that is just so amazing. So God is life. He is beauty. He is splendor. He is radiance, but he will never force himself on anyone. So when you have God in your life, the simplest things, you see the beauty in them. It's beautiful. You wake up in the morning and he gives us joy. In the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 2:26, it says that God gives joy, knowledge, and wisdom to those who he delights in. The ones who delight in him, the one who he delights in, he gives these things. And it says, but to the sinner, he gives the job of gathering, of toiling, of making all this money to give to those that God delights in. So it's like God is saying they're working in vain, but they're working because they're going to give them to the ones that I please, the ones that please me, the ones that I am pleased with, to my children. And also in the Bible, it says that the wealth of the wicked, God gives to us, to his children, to the saints. So, and also in the book of Daniel chapter 4, it talks about this king. His name was Nebuchadnezzar. And this king, he thought to himself, he's like, wow, look at everything that I have made. Look at everything that I have done. And he was exalting himself. And he had this dream with a tree that God was showing him that this tree represented him, that gave shade to the animals, but it grew very, very powerful. And it starts like exalting itself. And Daniel interprets his dream and says, you know, God says that you are like this tree. And he starts saying everything. And he says, but the angels said to chop that tree down and to just leave the stump. And he says, you know, you are going to be in the wilderness living like an animal for 7 years. And all of this comes to pass. And the king is living like an animal. And it says that his nails grew like claws. And he became like an animal, like a beast. But after the 7 years, God restores him to his position. And he becomes king again. But this time he has a humble attitude. This time he's grateful. And he has a spirit of gratitude. And that's what we need. There is, like, when we realize how beautiful God is and that everything that we have is because of his goodness, because of his mercy, and we develop the spirit of gratitude, God loves it. He says, come before me, the spirit of thanksgiving. Come into my gates with thanksgiving, with praise. So I woke up with that, and I wanted to share it. I wanted to share God is beautiful. He's not evil. And lack of peace just means you have lack of God. And all what you need is to tell God, God, I need you. I want you in my life. You know, I need this air. I need this oxygen. I need the life that only you can give, life and life in abundance that brings joy, wisdom, knowledge, peace. Everything that is good is in God. So thanks for watching. God bless you and have a nice day.